Hello everyone, welcome back to next video, that is the third chapter of economic survey of this year. I hope you have revised well the previous two videos, the concepts related to COVID-19, its impact and whether the lockdown was effective and all and other things. Second chapter was related to debt sustainability, how India's growth is doing and whether our debts are sustainable or not. Today we will be discussing the issue related to credit ratings of India's, that is sovereign credit rating for India, whether it is being done in biased manner, is it does India's growth justify that, or how is it? We will do all those analysis, then we will come to a conclusion, is India doing good or what should we do? So today's chapter is related to credit rating agencies and credit rating. So let's start the discussion. So yeah, this is economic survey, RR approach. The chapter deals with the name is, does India's sovereign credit rating reflect its fundamentals? The answer is, the economic survey is saying the answer is complete no, a big no. So why big no, and what are the issues related to sovereign credit ratings and what does it reflect? Okay. Before starting the video, before starting the chapter, we should be familiar with few key terms. That key terms is, one is, what are credit rating agencies? Which are these agencies and what do they do? So they assign credit ratings, they rate debts, the ability to pay the debts, pay back the debts, be it with respect to any sovereign entity, that is country, be it with respect to a private body or anyone, corporates. So they rate the countries, they rate the corporates, even a credit rating of individual is being done at the level of the banks, RBI. They do the credit rating, credit profile of an individual is also maintained. How capable we are to pay back our debts, how a person or country or a corporate entity, whether they have defaulted in the past or not. On the basis of that ratings, on the basis of credit rating of the entities, be it individual, corporate or sovereign, that is a nation, the loans will be given. The investors will invest in them, in the technology, in the idea or in the country, right? So credit ratings become very important. But so we have seen credit rating agencies. What is sovereign credit rating? Sovereign credit rating is independent assessment of credit worthiness of a country, of any sovereign entity. It gives insights to the investor into the level of risk associated into investing into the debts of a particular country. For example, if I am a country and I have to borrow money, for borrowing money what I have to do? I have to take loans. So basically it will be debt on me to pay back the loan. For paying back the loan, I should have that debt capability, I should have resources, or that idea, or for that matter that project should be so much promising that the investors should feel that they by capitalizing or by investing in my idea, they will get back their money along with some profit, that is the interest rate. So that's why investors invest in the in country's project. They invest in the debts, they invest in the yields, government securities, bonds. So these are the instruments through which government or private entities, there are other mechanisms through which private entities, the corporates, they borrow money, they borrow loan from the market. The investors invest accordingly, right? So that is the idea of sovereign credit rating. It gives insights to investor into the debt capability, or what kind of debt that country or that sovereign entity is involved into, and whether they will be able to pay back that debt or not. Next, based on the capability, based on the debts, based on the defaults they have done, countries or the sovereign entities have done, there are certain famous or prominent credit rating agencies named as S&P, that is a Standard and Poor's, Fitch ratings, Moodys ratings. These are the companies who, credit rating agencies who rate these sovereign entities, and based on the capabilities, certain fundamentals with respect to when we talk about a country, with respect to the macroeconomic variables, based on the performance of the macroeconomic variables, based on the stability of the macroeconomic variables, these countries, these agencies, they will rate the sovereign entities. So they give grades, they assign grades to those economies, right? So what are those grades? So here I have kept this image for you to showcase. This is not important, but you should know. Moody, Standard and Poor's, Fitch rating. Based on the performance, based on the capability or the fundamentals, macroeconomic stability, macroeconomic fundamentals, variables, the rating agencies, they will rate. So they rate either the long term, that blue one is AAA, then B, triple B, BAA2, BAA3, BA2, like this, C, D, these kind of. So every rating agencies have their own grades, their own rating mechanism, they have their own methodologies, and based on that they will decide the rating description. Either the country or the sovereign entity is of a kind of prime entity where the investor should invest, or they are capable, or they belong to high grade capability or high grade credit ratings, like that, medium grade, investment grade, speculative grade. So here today, in today's discussion, we have to focus on investment grade and speculative grade. Then substantial risk, extremely speculative, or default, or in default already, right? So like this, based on the credit ratings given by the credit rating agencies, it tells about that country, about that sovereign entity, that it describes them, whether the investor should go for investing without any doubt because it is a high grade investment country or high grade investment sovereign entity, or they are in a speculative grade, or they are under investment grade, or they are already doing default, so let's not invest in that country or that sovereign entity, right? So this is about ratings, grades. Okay, before discussing this, so what this chapter is talking about? This chapter is saying that never in the history of sovereign credit ratings, never ever has the fifth largest economy in the world has been rated as lowest, on the lowest rung, as it has been done with respect to the India. So this is sovereign credit rating of the fifth largest economy from the year 1994 till 2020. So what this graph is symbolizing, that India has been rated, at present India has been rated, when this survey was prepared, BBB minus or BAA3. That kind of grade has been given to India. So this dotted line represents the rating by S&P, and the red line represents the ratings by Moodys. It is Moodys rating. So these two low points, this circle and this circle, it highlights, it represents the entry of China in top economies and entry of India in top 5 economies. When we analyze this, then a common linkage is that whenever any developing country has entered they have entered this or they have climbed this ladder of becoming top 5 economies, they have been rated negatively. They have been rated not up to the potential, not up to their potential. Never in the history, other than the time when China entered or other the time when India entered, no other entry has been rated so much low. When China entered in 2004 and 5, and China became the top 5, entered in the ladder of top 5 economy, they were given the ratings of A minus, A2, like that. But India, first time in the history, in the world history, India has been rated in the world, 5th largest economy has been rated on the lowest rung, that is BAA minus or BBB minus or BAA3. And that is not justified. So what survey is trying to say, or survey is telling that only India and China are exception to this. No other country has been rated so low. Okay, so why this anomaly of sovereign credit rating? And it has continued since last 2 decades. Earlier in 90s and 2000s, last 2 decades also, in the previous 2 decades also, India has been discriminated, or this anomaly was visible. Now, at present, India has been rated as India has been rated by these credit rating agencies under the investment grade. That's good. That's acceptable. But India's sovereign credit ratings has been downgraded many times in the history. So the x-axis reflects the timeline from 1980 till 2019, and this graph, the red line symbolizes the India's GDP growth, and this highlights our growth. Okay. In the period, we will talk about this period of from 1990 to till 2006. This blue line indicates that even though our average growth was more than 6%, it was somewhere more than 8% also. It has also touched 9%. Previously, it has touched approx 9%. Even though our average growth in this period, average annual growth was more than 6%, but mostly credit rating agencies, they rated us, they rated country, India's sovereign credit rating were mostly in speculative grade, not even investment grade, in speculative grade. So do you think it is justified? Don't you think this is biased? Don't you think does it reflect the true potential of India, or does it reflect the true nature or the macroeconomic variables or macroeconomic fundamentals of the country? Definitely not. So what scholars have told, time to time scholars have, what this highlights? This highlights that India's high rate of economic growth coexisted with a sovereign credit rating of speculative growth. Now, does India's sovereign credit rating reflect its fundamental? Definitely a big no. Why? Scholars have also found that these sovereign credit ratings, as we have seen in the previous video or previous slide or this slide also, when entry by China and India in the top 5 economies, that is developing economies, when they are entering or when they are becoming the top 5 economies, what kind of discrimination is being done, right? Here also we have seen that India was rated, put into the speculative grade. So what it shows, scholars have observed that these ratings tend to be reactive. They, especially for the emerging market economies, okay, and it shows that there has been a significantly high probability of downgrade as well as higher size of downgrade as compared to the developed economies, developed countries. So it has been found that credit rating agencies, they have given higher ratings to developed economies and lower rating, they have downgraded the emerging market economies, their ratings, irrespective of macroeconomic variables or their stable macroeconomic fundamentals. The developed countries have been given favorable credit ratings. So this shows the biasness. Okay. So what does it shows? Okay, this slide is also there, which highlights that the sovereign credit rating of third largest economy on the basis of purchasing power parity per capita, GDP per capita. So see, the first time when China entered into the top 3, this circle highlights that by S&P, that is Standard and Poor's, they rated China at the grade was BBB or Baa2, but Moody, they rated A- or A3. When China entered into the top 3, it became the top 3 economy, third largest economy on the basis of PPP. That was way back in 1994, in the period of 96. China was rated was given such a low grade. Okay, things were going smooth with respect to other countries, with respect to other economies in that period. But when India entered into India became the top 3 economies with respect to PPP, then again in the history with respect to any country, it was the first time in the world any country was given such a low graded rating. So here you can analyze, it is at the level of BBB- or Baa3. So don't you think these graphs, they highlight any kind of biasness, opacity or favoritism to the developed economies? Yes, definitely it highlights or it indicates at least towards that side. And this is not me, or this is not me or you analyzing, this is authentic document of Government of India Economic Survey is analyzing. So definitely try to use such arguments in your answers as well, that such kind of biasness is there. Then we will discuss what is the way forward, then what should we do. Okay. So what is it highlighting this? The growth is there, but we are being given put into the speculative grade. At present we are in investment grade. Okay. Even though our growth is not as much higher as when it was there earlier in the decade of 2000 to 2010. So it shows that India is clearly a negative outlier, and it is currently much rated below the expectation for its level of GDP growth. Okay. So this is it. This is what, okay. One more thing, one more data we should know whenever we are writing answer, that when we are talking about fifth largest economy based on the current prices of US dollar. So this is with respect to GDP. So when we are talking, then with respect to GDP, fifth largest economy, we should also have our data to represent or to argument or to substantiate. So if we say that India is the fifth largest economy, so in 2019 when India was fifth largest economy in terms of nominal GDP, what was that value? That value was USD, that is US dollar, 2.94 trillion. So we are the economy of USD 2.94 trillion. Okay. And what is our aspiration? What is our target? Our target is to become what? USD 5 trillion economy by 2024 and USD 10 trillion economy by 2032. Okay. Okay. When we are talking about becoming USD 5 trillion economy, what is this 5 trillion? How to become that? So the previous economic survey, that is 2018 and 2019 and 20, today we are discussing, this is the third economic survey in the sense that after the two, the previous two which I am discussing. The previous two economic survey, they focused on India becoming USD 5 trillion economy, what all we need to do and how we need to do. The evidence based policy making which we can learn from other countries, right? So why I am discussing it here? Those concepts, those ideas given by the volume 1 of both the economic survey, the previous economic survey, they give very good ideas which I discussed in the starting of the this year's economic survey. That is the first, in the starting of the first chapter I have discussed behavioral economics, the concept of nudging, the concept of dwarfism, addressing the dwarfism in organized manufacturing. The first chapter of that year's economic survey, that is 2018 and 19, deals with the concepts of macroeconomic stability which India needs, or the variables, the macroeconomic variables which India should focus upon in order to become USD 5 trillion economy. So do watch that video. That is the first chapter of that year's economic survey. You will go and find it in the playlist on our YouTube channel. So that's important. That gives you a lot of input when we have to write the answers. Okay. So that is about USD, that is about fifth largest economy. That data was there. And what is the target? That also we have seen. When we are talking about India being the third largest economy with respect to PPP, so India is the third largest economy by PPP. So what is that purchasing power parity, GDP per capita in terms of US dollar? That is approx USD 7,000. That is US dollars 7,000. Okay. So just remember these data in order to substantiate our answers or put the argument, be it in interview or in general discussions, okay, or for that matter even to eliminate the options in the at the level of prelims. Okay. Next comes, here we discussed that okay, our fundamentals are right, our fundamentals are good, and even after that we have been rated much below, and India's true potential has been not reflected by the credit rating agencies. So what is the way forward? Should we analyze, don't you think that we should know our macroeconomic fundamentals, whether they are in a stable position or not? Okay. So these fundamentals when we talk about, first is GDP growth rate. We have seen that average, on an average, we are more than 6% in the last decade, and now also it is expected that we will be IMF or for that matter other countries. Yes, COVID has played its role and we are facing recession, but there is huge potential and growth rate is in comfortable zone, and in future also it will be more than 6%. IMF, World Bank, even our country, even our economic survey has highlighted that. In volume 2, we'll see it in more detail. So that is in comfortable range. When it comes with respect to inflation, now we have Monetary Policy Committee, that is MPC, legal backup is there, and the target which we have kept, it is 4% plus and minus 2. So we are already managing that. RBI is doing phenomenal job. They are doing a very good job in managing or in controlling inflation in the country, right? So that is also in the manageable zone. Also, when I told that do watch the first chapter of Economic Survey 2018 and 19, there also we have discussed about these macroeconomic variables, and we have discussed whether they are in comfortable zone or not, or in order to become USD 5 trillion economy, what all we need to do. Definitely. After that, COVID has come, scenario has changed, so we need to consider these factors also, we need to consider, then only we can present our argument. When we talk about government debt, the second chapter which we discussed this year, that is the previous chapter itself, it deals with the debt sustainability, and that debt sustainability we have discussed that our debts are in manageable zone and we can manage our debts, we can manage it. And encasing panel, they have told the encasing panel on the FRBM recommendation, he has highlighted, the panel has highlighted that over a period of time we have to reduce the debt sustainability, and at present it is around 74%, and we have to reduce it up to 60% in future. So revise the second chapter, you will get the data. So overall argument Economic Survey has given is that our debts are manageable, our debts are sustainable, so we are free to take decisions, and India should focus on counter-cyclic fiscal policy, which was the argument of the previous chapter. Thus, we should not worry on the at the front of debts, because we are in manageable zone, and with respect to COVID, we have to focus on counter-cyclic fiscal policy, that is expansionary fiscal policy, right? Current account deficit. So what is current account deficit? I hope your basics are clear. BOP, balance of payment, current account, capital account, current account deficit, capital account, full account, capital account convertibility, all these concepts we are not going to discuss here, but there is expectation that all these things will be, basics will be clear at least. That's why this chapter or the concept Economic Survey we are discussing after finishing your basic concepts. So what is current account deficit? Current account, I am not going to discuss, but I will tell you definitely a figure. Average current account deficit for the last 10 years, that is 1 decade, on an average we were in the range of 2.2% or approx 2%. So at present India's average current account deficit is 2.2% of the GDP in the last 10 years. So this data has been given by Economic Survey, and Economic Survey analysis suggests that India is in a line or is in a position in future, India is going to have current account surplus after 17 years. So after it is the analysis of this year's Economic Survey itself, we will discuss in detail in volume 2 if it is given with respect to current account deficit analysis. Survey is hoping or speculating, expecting on the basis of the data that in future after 17 years India will have current account surplus, not deficit. Okay, so that is there. So at average 2.2%. So that also shows that we are in manageable zone. So with respect to that macroeconomic variable or macroeconomic fundamental, we are in manageable zone. Political stability. Do you think that we are in a political unstable scenario? Before that, NDA is ruling the country for the second term, that is complete 10 years, they will complete their 10th year in 2-3 years. Already UPA has ruled for 2 tenures, and as such elections are going as smooth in, okay, whatever internally we are facing, but for the from outside, it's not a major problem what is happening right now in Myanmar or what happened few years back in Maldives. That scenario is not there, or for that matter our neighboring country like Nepal or Sri Lanka, such scenario is not there. The Indian democracy has been praised time to time or time again for its political stability, timely elections, people's representation is improving, women representation in previous Lok Sabha was 12%, now it's 14%, that is also improving. People are vocal about their rights, we enjoy our rights. Do you still think that we are politically in a stable country? No. Rule of law, as such there is no problem of rule of law. People, they get their due to express themselves. Constitutionally we have such mechanism that rule of law has to be, we have to maintain that, we have to uphold them. What farmers are doing, that is rule of law, that is their fundamental right. Yes, when it is violent, then they are violating the norms, they are violating their duty, they are violating they are exploiting their freedom. But as such there is no major rule of law or such problems in India. Internal debates we have time to time that okay, what government is doing with respect to sedition and all, that is another issue. But with respect to economy, with respect to the investors mindset or to attract investor, that is not a major problem. Corruption, with respect to corruption, Transparency International is there, they release corruption perception index, and there in 2020 our rank was 86th. Okay, if you analyze, then we have been around 80s, but we have improved. The score of the previous corruption perception index and this year's corruption perception index is somewhere around 40. So there also we are improving. Forget about Transparency International and corruption perception index. Analyze the scenario by analyzing the methods or the steps which we have taken, be it demonetization, be it push to digital cashless economy. So all these things, these are the steps or reforms we have done with respect to the printing of the currency. We have changed our currency, we have changed the denominations, new currencies. Why all these things? Just to put check on the black money, that is the corruption. Yes, so Insights portal is there. We have brought faceless taxation in the income tax department. So lot of steps are being taken at various e-governance. So many platforms, so many initiatives we have taken with respect to e-governance in order to make the things smooth. Ombudsman concept, or for that matter, we have grievance redressal with in every department. So all these things point towards what? That we are doing good with corruption. Yes, things, nobody is perfect, nothing is perfect, but yes, in every country there is corruption, but still we are in manageable zone. It is not something very alarming that we can't attract investors, right? Ease of doing business. In 2014, our rank was 142. Now, in 2020, our rank was 63. Okay, whenever you are showing or whenever you are discussing all these things in exam, so you should represent it on a graph. Okay, so how you should represent, let's say this is 2020 and this is 2014. Okay, here it is 162, 142, and here it is somewhere around 63. Okay, so it has, we have reduced. Okay, so our ranking, it has reduced means what? We have improved on ranking, but ease of doing business has improved. So that way we have to represent. Yeah, because now we have our own mechanism of analyzing the parameters or ease of doing business. Niti Aayog has come up with the ease of doing business in every state, and that to this ease of doing business by World Bank, it doesn't represent the true nature of ease of doing business for the whole country, because majorly Delhi and Mumbai, they have been given the importance. They analyze these two cities, their parameters, and they judge the whole country. So that's why Niti Aayog has come up with its own Indian ease of doing business index, that is for respective states, how we are doing. We have our own parameters to analyze. So what ultimately it shows that we are doing good on that part as well. Sovereign default history, we don't have any default history. Even in the crisis time of 1990s, that is 91, when we went for LPG reform, that time also we didn't go for any default. We didn't default on our debts. We didn't. We have always repaid it. We are responsible citizens, responsible country when it comes to repaying the loans, because ultimately we are a democratic country and we have to take care of the government has to take care of the people. It's not like that today one government is there, they are taking care of themselves only, favoritism, nepotism, corruption, using money power, and tomorrow they will not come to the power. So here democracy, constitution, fundamental rights, all those things have given enough cushion or enough security that we are not doing in, and for that matter we will discuss next in the chapter that we are in comfortable zone because our forex reserves also points in that direction. Okay. So what these economic fundamentals tell? They tell that our macroeconomic variables are in comfortable zone and we are not we have not gone for any, we don't have any default history. Thus whatever credit ratings have been given to India is not justified. India is a negative outlier. India has the potential, but that has not been recognized by these credit ratings agencies.
Can I add a point?
Yeah, please tell.
Sir, recently Rawalpindi publication, Pakistani army publication, they released their yellow book.
Yellow book, okay. Pakistan, huh?
Yeah. So Times of India covered it, and they have made this strategy that in order to make India low, we have to speculate and manipulate these international reports of India, like democratic and all those reports.
होता है, मतलब it happens. Every country, चाहे जो भी country हो, they मतलब वो अपने हिसाब से देखते हैं, सबके अपने points होते हैं, सबके अपने vested interest होते हैं. Because of that, so what we are discussing in this chapter is that these credit rating agencies, they also have this biasness towards the developed countries. Their rating has not been compromised. When you came late, otherwise we discussed in the starting that how in the history, whenever China and India has entered in top 5 economy, or for that matter top 3 economy, they were given the low grading, not any other country were not given. So that biasness is there. Okay, coming to the sovereign default which we discussed here, default history, we don't have any default history. So what does it mean? What does it symbolizes, or what does it indicates? That does India's sovereign credit rating reflects its willingness and ability to pay back? Definitely it doesn't reflect. No, a big no. We have sufficient cushion. We will analyze on the basis of these parameters that what are they. So India's ability to pay cannot be gauged only based on what kind of forex we have or our extremely low foreign currency dominated debt of the as the part of the sovereign debt, total debt. We also have very good forex reserves. So we'll discuss it one by one. So when we talk about India's sovereign external debt as the percentage of GDP, it is approx 4%. India's sovereign external debt. Okay, that was in 2020. In the previous video also, in the previous chapter, when we have discussed about the composition of public debt, the external debt was hardly 6% and the internal debt was more, that is 94%. Sovereign external debt, here we have also removed the debts from the IMF and World Bank. So it is somewhere around 4%. India's sovereign external debt as percentage of GDP, this is. That data is with respect to debt composition. So 6% of total debt is external and 94% is internal from the previous chapter we have seen. And this is with respect to GDP. Sovereign external debt is hardly 4%. So we don't have much liability externally. Hardly 4% of GDP is sovereign external debt. That was in 2022. And moreover, out of this also 54% of India's sovereign external debt is foreign currency dominated debt, is owed to or is goes to, or we take this loan from the institutions, financial institutions like IMF or World Bank. So it is not expected these kind of loans, it is not expected that it will affect the, or it should impact the credit ratings, because we are doing good. They are long term, maturity period is long term. So why in short term the credit ratings will be influenced by these data or by these values? Because they are long term projects, they long term maturity and the interest rate is very less. So they will definitely not impact the credit ratings. So 54% of whatever our sovereign external debt in foreign currency dominated is there comes from IMF, World Bank. So they should also not impact. So definitely it doesn't reflects the true nature or true picture, the ratings which has been given by the credit ratings to us. Then comes foreign currency dominated debt. Whatever foreign currency dominated debt is there with India. Sorry? Yeah, so this was with respect to this only. Foreign currency dominated debt is hardly 54% comes from IMF. ठीक है, Yeah, non-government short-term debt. Now this is long-term we have discussed. Short-term debt when we comes, and that to non-government means private entities. So here, since India doesn't have full capital account convertibility, so what private sector they have to do? They have to repay its foreign currency dominated debt by exchanging through forex reserves. They will go and they will exchange with forex reserves, through forex reserves, and they will convert the currency in whatever they have to pay back, because we don't have full capital account convertibility. So these short-term debts, if we give a value, India's non-government short-term debt as a percentage of forex is 19%. As a percent of forex reserve stands at 19%. So 19% of our private, that is non-government short-term debt, 19% of forex only it represents. So that is also not, still we are left out with the 81% of the forex reserve. When we discuss about the forex reserves, at present the forex is somewhere around $USD 584.24. So there also we have improved. Year on year we are improving on forex reserves. So there also, whenever you have to write any answers, draw a diagram, write the years 2018, 2019 and show this value and end value. Then you write, okay, somewhere in 2018 we were 384, now we are 584. This is forex reserve. So we have improved on our forex reserves also. What is forex reserve? At the level of prelims, what kind of knowledge you should have? What are the components of forex? What is RTP? So gold. So you have to remember it in on the basis of, or in the chronology, on the basis of weightage. How much percentage to gold? How much percentage to RTP? You know? Tranche position, IMF, given by IMF. So that kind of concept you should know with respect to forex, along with the value for prelims level. For mains level, we should know the data in order to substantiate our argument. So that is our forex reserve. Our total external debt, be it sovereign or non-sovereign, means non-government bodies, that is private entities, it is somewhere around USD 556.2 billion. This is 584.24. So if we take 584 billion and we take 556 billion, still we are in manageable zone. Our debt is highly, total external debt is hardly 556 billion US dollars, and our forex reserve is 584, means we have that capability to pay and we still can have some buffer money with us. And that too, there are many projects which are long term, so we should not bother about it. So definitely it doesn't highlight the credit ratings, it doesn't highlight the willingness and ability to pay by India. It means that there is some biasness. Okay, coming to what is the effect of these credit rating changes. We have seen time to time they are short term, time to time sometimes we will put in they will put us in speculative grade, sometimes they will put us into investment grade. We have seen in the previous slide that our investment or our GDP growth doesn't reflect what they are not in sync with there is no correlation, rather there is negative correlation with the credit ratings we have been given to us. The effect of credit rating changes we will analyze with respect to short term, medium term, long term, average or GDP growth and all. So India has witnessed, in the next graph we will see, India has witnessed these red lines, this red and this red. It signifies the year of rating downgrade, they don't tell the percentage. Basically this graph is representing India's GDP growth from 1989 till 1920. So this is our graph of our growth, GDP growth. But this red color highlights the year in which we were given downgrades, or the credit ratings were downgraded. These green lines, they show the year of upgrade. When you will analyze, this is 1989 and 2000. What were the major events that year? Nuclear testing, Pokhran testing. Because of that and because of the pressure by the developed countries, we were given the negative credit ratings. Do you think such Pokhran test or any kind of nuclear test or military test or missile test should affect our investors? Because we were US, they put sanction on us. Many countries, they put sanction. They thought that okay, they will not have good relation with us. They were not happy because we entered in that zone also, that we became nuclear capable country. So people were not happy, countries were not happy, and they had influence in credit rating agencies because they represent their view, they get funding and all. So because of that, we were given in the, we were downgraded with respect to the credit ratings. And if you analyze that year in 1988-99, when we were down, ratings were downgraded, what was our GDP growth? 6.2%. Next year, next time, it was 4.8%. But there is no correlation with the GDP growth. We have already seen in the previous slides. On an average, when we were given good rating, 8.1%, our ratings were upgraded. But again, there is no correlation because we have been, we have got around 9% also the growth rate, but that year no upgrade, no downgrade. So there is no correlation, there is no effect. In short, there certainly these, if we discuss the impact of effect of credit rating changes, certainly it affects the investor sentiment, the mood of the investor. But we have seen through service analysis, the graphs, the studies, that there is no effect at all. So what India should not worry. There is no short term effect, no medium term effect, no long term effect. So with respect to short term, if we analyze Sensex or for that matter Forex reserves, by these ratings, these things there will be no impact on that. Census decisions will be affected by political stability. The real scenarios or any major disruption, COVID, or for that matter any major problem has happened, any scam has happened. So because of that, because of policy matters, that will be affected. Our forex reserves, our foreign exchange, forex reserves or foreign the rates, exchange rates, they are also not affected by these credit ratings. So in short term also they don't have any impact. In medium term, if we talk about government securities, what are government securities? They are these tradable instrument issued by the government. They highlight or they represent, they acknowledge the debt obligations of the government, and the investors will invest in that because they will get benefits. So in short term, it is government security, two types. These are the fundamentals, so I am not discussing in detail. We have treasury bills, we have bonds. So these are short term, these are long terms. So on this also we have not seen any kind of impact by any downgrade or upgrade. So medium term also it doesn't affect. Long term also if we analyze, then in long term also FPI. What are FPIs? Foreign portfolio investors. They are investors. Unlike FDI, they don't have any say in decision making. They are investors. They don't hold any property. They don't have any direct control over assets or businesses. So in long term also, we have seen that there is no impact on FPI also, right? So yes, yes. So what does it says? What does it tells that on an average there is no impact, right? And our focus should be on GDP growth rather than worrying about these credit rating agencies or the credit ratings. Okay, so we have seen this graph, we have seen, then what should be the way forward? With respect to the way forward, what economic survey is suggesting is that don't worry about anything. These credit ratings are biased, they are noisy, they are opaque, and amendments needs to be done. So economic survey has come to the conclusion that we need, there is need of amendments in the methodologies on through which these credit rating agencies they analyze these things. They do take fundamentals or the economic fundamentals, the macroeconomic variabilities which we have discussed, but till what level or what weightage they are giving, that methodology we need to like there should be reform. So a very good quotation the survey has given, which you should use in your essays, you should use in your, they have used in economy, you should use it in your ethics answers, you should use with respect to the women issues. The quotation is very famous quotation by Rabindranath Tagore. and it is where the mind is without fear and the head is held high. Into that heaven of freedom, my father, let my country away. You can start the discussion of new women. It was way back in 2017. New women, new India, such kind of quotations you can use. So there is no boundary of using quotations, be it economy, society, ethics, or essay. So that's why I have kept this. So what survey is saying that, my country, don't worry about anything, and father means God gives us strength so that we can fight all these uncertainties or negative forces or these noisy or opaque or biased credit rating. So ultimately we have to focus on growth and development. Government should focus on growth and development, and survey is saying that the developing countries, they should come together and they should raise voice against these credit rating agencies, and developing countries should report this. And because of that, when the developing countries, they reported it, the Financial Stability Board, that is FSB, it was formed after G20 Summit 2009, that they reported this, and now FSB is focusing on assessing the pro-cyclicity of credit rating downgrades. Pro-cyclicity with respect to fiscal policy or counter-cyclicity I have discussed in the previous chapter. Okay, so this is it, and that's it. That's it with respect to the chapter. Now coming to the most important and most interesting part. Now we will summarize the whole chapter quickly and we'll see what is the learning. So in the starting we have discussed India's credit rating. What is it? Downgrade, speculative grade. It has been downgraded to speculative grade versus investment grade. We have discussed all those things. We have seen the fundamental. So it is in speculative grade. Then we saw the graph with respect to when India became the fifth largest economy. Then what ratings, India and China comparison. Then when India became the third largest country with respect to PPP, then that we have analyzed. After analyzing India's credit rating credit ratings in comparison to India's economy and its grade, we discussed what is its effect. Effect is big no. There is no effect at all. We should not worry. But what does it reflect? It reflects India is outlier. India is a negative outlier, and India has been rated below its potential. The growth coexisted along with the speculative grade. Our average growth rate was more than 6% for 1 decade. Still we were in speculative grade. We have graph to show that. And there is the probability of default is 0. There is no history and we have sufficient forex reserves. So the probability of default is 0. Next we discussed the way forward. If the effect is 0 and it doesn't reflect anything, then what is the way forward? Way forward is that India should focus on growth and development. Rabindranath Tagore's quote you will quote, and we have to raise voice against the pro-cyclic nature of the credit rating, subjectivity. We have to be vocal for reforms, transparency, and developing countries must come together. Okay, so I hope this has summarized the learnings of this chapter. Now the most important part is that don't limit yourself only to the learnings or revision. You have to also test yourself. So here is the trigger for you. Does India's credit rating reflect its potential? You have to give arguments. This is a 15-mark question. So does it reflect or not? You have to tell. You have to give the arguments by analyzing the macroeconomic fundamentals which we have discussed, and you have to use the graph. You have to use the arguments which we have discussed in this chapter. Then the question is saying, suggest reforms needed in the functioning of CRA. So you have to do this research and you have to search the answer for it. Okay. Briefly we have discussed what kind of reforms are needed, but go in bit depth and analyze. So that's it for today's chapter. I hope things are clear and you have understood it. Now try to attempt this question. The previous chapter also I have given questions to you, so do attempt that. The prelims related question in the end I will give, as I have told earlier in the video, that the cumulative questions for all the chapter will be given in the end so that you can revise it well for prelims. For mains I am giving it here itself. So that's it for today. Thank you so much. Next chapter we will be discussing some concepts related to inequality, poverty and all. So wait till then. Take care. Thank you. Bye-bye.